Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. JACALYN. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. JACALYN at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hi, everyone. Season's greetings. We're so happy to have you here on USA Global TV, and hello to our friends listening on Business Talk Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and our show today is the Listening Mentor, and that would be me, yours truly. This show is all about showcasing listening skills to help us have inner peace. With more inner peace, we are clearly on our way to world peace. I have a team of people who have committed themselves, dedicated themselves to learning how to listen. And we will starting in January, 5 days a week. Right now it's 3 days a week, where we actually discuss different scenarios that involve listening and how we behave. We also do live role plays for listening skills, and we're so happy to have you so that you can learn from this. We hope that you take something away from each and every one of our shows. So on our shows, we feature elevated listeners, as I've mentioned. These are people you want to know. You wanted to get to know them. You want to work with them. You want to pick their brain. You want to link in with them because they give you a safe space to listen and share. Let's bring out our two elevated listeners today. Mr. Al CINI, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. JACALYN. Great to be here.
And Mr. HIETT IVES.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
HIETT, how you doing?
Say what, sir?
How you doing, HIETT?
I'm fine, sir. I'm in great shape. How y'all?
Great. We're good.
We're great. Al and I just did a show together right before this, so it's nice to have you join us because we're all ready to go, right, Al?
Yeah, I'm good to go. It's New Year's resolution time, and resolutions about becoming a better listener. You know, ways that you can change your approach to other people in your life to become a better listener. I'm ready with a couple of those I'd like to share. So.
Wonderful. Before we get started, I would love to just showcase each of you and share information about what it is that you do when you're not an elevated listener, because we can't be listening intently every single minute because we have other things that we're doing. So share with us, Al, a little bit about your background and what you're giving back to the world every day.
Oh, thanks as always for the opportunity to pitch in there, Dr. JACALYN. Here's what we do. You may have a family or a group in a department in a company, a sports team, a child study team. What we do is provide a team building experience that unites the members of a team around the purpose that the team serves. We call it the Brand and Culture Alignment Toolkit, and it's a fun and very enlightening and transformative experience. We have an embarrassingly high net promoter score of 10 on people that we've asked. How did you enjoy the experience? Everybody raves about it because it's their experience. It's not something we impose on them. It's something that they do. And we facilitate this process that gets people aligned with their purpose. And it's a lot of fun. And you can reach me at al.cini@getbcat.com if you'd like to learn more.
Thank you, Al. Always a pleasure.
Thanks,
and Mr. HIETT IVES, over to you.
Thank you, doctor. I am HIETT IVES. I am a business marketing communicator. I help clients put their written material, their website, their collateral material, their social media material in second person, present tense, call to action format. And I also specialize in business to business and event trade show marketing. You can get a hold of me. Yeah, and it's running the deal down on the bottom there, HIETT@HIETTIVES.com, and my phone number is there as well. We'll cover that again later on.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. All right. I'd like to start off before we really delve into it. Many people already think that they're good listeners. Oh, I don't need to learn anything. I'm a good listener. And then they find out based on what other people share with them, hey, you know what? I don't think you're actually listening to what I said, or that's not what I said. Why are you always interrupting me? Right? Do you find this now? I'll start with
I
Al.
think you just described me. I
Mhm.
mean, I can't tell you how many times people have said, actually, the people I know best, what I become really good at is looking like I'm listening. At least I think I have. Now, I bragged about that. I bragged about that with people that know me, and they've said, you're really not all that good at it. I said, what do you mean? And they said, well, you think you're getting away with it, but you're not. We know. We know that if we don't get to you in 5 minutes, the next 15 minutes are going to be you just nodding and smiling. Your brain is off somewhere else. We know that. You've left the building. Yeah, and and so you're really in a kind of embarrassing to say, before I took the listening mentor before I took your program, that was me. And that's one of my resolutions, to be more mindful of the fact that my brain is taking me away from a conversation I'm currently having and present in. To be more mindful of that and deferring those thoughts. See, when you have a certain kind of personality, like something mentally wrong with me, for example, let's say I'm crazy, which is probably a pretty accurate diagnosis. You tend to chase shiny objects. Some people do that. And sometimes you imagine those shiny objects. You think about what you're going to be doing tomorrow while you're in the middle of having a conversation with somebody right now. You've essentially told them now with you is less important than tomorrow that may never happen. And they know that, and they felt that. And, it wasn't really until I actually until I inspected myself on this, I don't think I really fully realized the negative impact it has on people.
Wow, Al, thank you for that. That is huge. Especially there are so many people who respect you and look up to you, and the fact that you admitted that you saw
But
something in yourself but you learned.
yeah, well, you
Yeah.
can. I mean, these are adjustments that you can make. So, resolutions include things like I will catch myself when my mind starts to wander in the middle of a conversation, and I'll bring myself back to where I am. And you can. These are decision choices you can make, but you have to be mindful of them first. And that, Dr. Jacqueline, is where your program comes in.
Mhm.
I really appreciate you. Thank you, Al. How about you, Hyatt?
Well, along that same line, multitasking. We all think we can multitask. We cannot. The brain cannot do that. And I have to constantly remind myself, stay focused on what you're doing. Don't allow yourself to get pulled off onto something and try to do one thing and listen to somebody else. And it becomes very obvious on things like Zoom calls where, yes, I'm listening, but you see me, head bent and like I'm typing away or something. And I am becoming more cognizant of that and working more diligently at refraining from doing that and staying focused on what I'm on until I've finished it.
It's hard. It's
Oh
hard
yeah.
work.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for that, Hyatt. I have to share that just because I'm teaching these courses doesn't mean that I don't need to learn more myself. And something I've learned is that this past year, I've been involved in so many things. Every time somebody asks me to do something, I say yes, I say yes, I say yes.
Hmm.
And I found that there were times that I was saying yes, but I was actually multitasking at the same time because I had so many deadlines and things that I had to do. So I said to myself, this year, I'm not going to do that anymore. If I can't be 100% present, then that means I need to take some things off my plate so that what I am doing, I feel that I am completely committed to.
I listened to a session this morning by Darren Hardy, and he was talking about Steve Jobs when he came back to Apple, and they were within 90 days of going insolvent, and they were being successful in a lot of things, and he finally said, "Stop. Four things, four corners. You know, Is it what was it? Do you want a desktop or a laptop? Are you doing it professionally? Or are you doing it personally? And if a particular piece of equipment didn't address all four of those items, then and he eliminated 74% of their product line. But that the 10 items that they ended up with, were the start of the company going, ballistic, because they got focused and they eliminated things that were successful. But he said, this is a direct answer to what you're talking about, Jacqueline. He said, no. The way you succeed is by saying no, 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 no to those things that are not directly applicable to what
That's
you're doing.
so important.
Your
And
focus.
And I can tell you a story about Steve Jobs. It's something I know from personal experience. They were a client of mine. I never worked directly with Steve. I worked with the marketing team at Apple. They hired John Scully from Pepsi. I don't know if you remember, John Scully came to work for Apple after leaving Pepsi, ultimately became the CEO of Apple, replacing Steve Jobs for a period of time. They remained friends throughout that. Steve Jobs, one of the reasons why Steve Jobs hired John Scully was because John Scully was responsible for the Pepsi generation, the marketing of Pepsi as a style product, as a fashion product, not as a beverage.
Mm-hmm.
It caused a huge shift, a seismic shift in the marketplace. And where prior to that, Pepsi was maybe a tenth of Coke sales, that propelled them to almost parity with Coca-Cola, which was amazing because people felt good about drinking Pepsi, not because it was sweeter or cheaper. That flavor didn't matter. It's just they felt like that identified them in a way that made them better. And everything about Apple's success was their shift around that time from being a computer company to being a fashion and style company, which is really what they are. They are in the fashion and style business. Technology is a part of it, but you carry that iPhone and you use that Mac because even though you've spent more money for it, it may not even be as good as some of the alternatives. You do that because you think it makes you a better person.
Well, and the other thing, I don't know if it was us that talked about this, but every iPhone, computer technology-wise, is identical. The only thing that differentiates them is the camera and the camera technology. But if you buy an iPhone, anything, you're going to have the same computer and technological expertise across any model. The differentiator is the camera.
Well, listen, you tie this back to the power of listening. That was one of the things that Steve Jobs had. I don't want to say he was a nice guy. That would be going too far. He was not a nice guy. He was actually the opposite of a nice guy by most accounts. But when he heard a good idea, he dropped everything and followed the idea. Always. That was always, and it didn't matter where the idea came from, whether it was his or somebody else's. He was a great champion of interesting ideas, alternative ideas, and really deep truths. You don't get there by being a poor listener.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I love that. Thank you. Something that I want to share, I just actually put it into practice 2 days ago. I started swimming. And I haven't been swimming in a long time, swimming laps in the pool. And as I was swimming, I was thinking about what I was going to do afterwards, what I was going to do the next day. And I finally, as I was doing my strokes, I thought, are you looking around at how beautiful it is? Are you in the now or are you in the future? You need to listen to your body, listen to your heart, listen to your soul, enjoy your environment today, right now. So I'm taking that now as a practice. When I went swimming yesterday, my head was where my body was. I was listening to my breath, listening to the sounds around me, as opposed to listening to all the noise that's always trying to distract us about what we need to do.
Mm-hmm. Good for you. So you really enjoyed that experience then. That was a vacation.
It was a vacation. Yes, I have to say the only challenge was my Apple Watch that I love. I'm a big Apple person. I love my Apple Watch because it gives me so much information. And when I put it on the swimming exercise, the face goes dark, so you can't see how long you've been swimming. And so I'm very much, about goals. So
Yeah, we've heard.
yes. But anyway, what are your thoughts about that? And then I want to talk about resolutions. What are your thoughts about, instead of always worrying and wondering about the next thing, like, what are you going to do after this show is over? What about just being present with yourself where you are for that moment?
Well, I can tell you the effect it has on me physiologically. It's that I think what you just described is stress. That's the classic. That reaching out to the future to try to pull it into the present to do something about it when in fact you won't be able to do anything about it until it actually gets here, and it'll get here in its own good time. That whole idea of living a week ahead or a month ahead or a year ahead in a world that'll probably never appear because circumstances will change, elevates your heart rate, constricts your blood vessels, raises your blood pressure, and causes you to die young. You don't want to do that. I mean, it just is a bad stress and worry kill. They're awful. They're unhealthy and also useless, pointless, because they don't really help you prepare for anything. And that's another thing too. When I've had my really difficult employee conversations where where I knew that in an hour I was going to be sitting down and having an uncomfortable conversation with an employee, I can't tell you how many times that conversation was preceded by days of rehearsals of how I thought it was going to go. Lost sleep the night before, lost sleep the night before that. They're going to say this and I'm going to say that. They're not going to get away with it. I'm going to catch them when they do that. I have never had ever in my life, and I've lived a long damn time, ever had a conversation that ever played out anything like what I rehearsed for 4 days ahead of time. Ever. So I'm here to tell you, if you're 20 or 21, stop now.
Yeah.
You don't get good at that. You never get good at that.
Allow me to quote Mother Teresa: "Be happy in the moment. That's enough. Each moment is all we need." Be happy
I like
in the
that
moment.
lady. Thank
That's
you.
enough. Each moment is all we need.
That is a good quote. And those moments that you're having are little gifts, and you crap all over them when you trade them in for a future that is probably never going to happen, and you're worried and stressed about it.
Well, and here's another one that goes directly to what you were talking about, Al. The happiness of my life depends upon the quality of my thoughts. The happiness of my life depends on the quality of my thoughts. That's Marcus Aurelius.
Okay, now I have a question for you. All this time that I'm talking, are you not listening to me because you're looking up those quotes? Come on.
I was wondering that. I was going to put that in the private chat.
Oh,
busted, buddy. Busted.
She slapped my hand many a time, and now you're having to,
busted.
You saw it here live, folks.
Yeah, you did.
And my wife will say, you did it again. You always have to have the last word. You always have to. So my humblest apologies, both of you.
There's a show on Amazon Prime. Mrs. Ives Knows Everything. It's on Amazon Prime. It's 10 episodes. You should watch it. I think you're in it.
Oh, we do have our fun here, don't we? All right. So, Al, you've got a quote from somebody pretty famous.
I do, and it's another resolution. And it's actually a resolution that I don't need to really work very hard at because I don't tend to do it. And I think an awful lot of people could benefit by this. Eleanor Roosevelt once said that superior minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, and struggling minds, maybe minds that are a little on the weak side, they tend to talk about people. So the resolution is, and it's not just about listening, but it's also about selecting topics that are constructive and positive and engaging and not argumentative and arbitrary, really. So we were having the conversation before the program. If I quote Eleanor Roosevelt, and we all agree that's a wonderful quote, and it is a great quote, it's not my favorite from her. And on a future program, I'll tell you which one is my favorite. She was really witty, very clever woman. If I quote Eleanor Roosevelt and I mention that quote and somebody says, well, she's a Democrat. What are you doing quoting Democrats? What you've just done is taken what could have been a productive, useful, healthy conversation and steered it in a direction that isn't going to do anybody any good at all. So don't talk about personalities. In particular, don't talk about personalities, people that you've never met and never will meet. I mean, if Donald Trump and Joe Biden were not invited to dinner, why are they there at the table with you? Why did you bring them to dinner? I didn't invite them. What are they doing at the dinner table with me? I didn't invite them. I don't want them here. I don't want a presidential debate at my dinner table. Please don't bring me one. See what I mean?
I love that, Al. Yes, I love that.
I wouldn't invite Joe and I wouldn't invite Donald. They're not invited to my party. Why are they here? They shouldn't be here. Why'd you bring them? Are they your +2?
And then they become center stage, right? Then you don't exist anymore. Nobody else even matters.
All the oxygen out of the room. The conversation goes dark and never comes back. And well, it may not ever. And it could even lead to serious damage, emotional damage to people. Some people could feel like they have to leave. They can't take it anymore. It's ruinous. But you just can't, for a lot of people, my being present in this venue requires that I insult everybody. And I mean, some people just feel like that's why they feel like they were invited and they need to do it because it's expected of them. And they start these stupid arguments over dumb things that don't matter. And there isn't enough alcohol in the world to help with that.
It's so true. And I have to just share in alignment with that. There are times that I have been in a conversation with someone and I knew that they felt the opposite of what I felt. And I'll just agree to whatever it is just to shut them up, just because I don't want to have an argument. It's like, yeah, I understand what you're saying. Or, yeah, that's a good point. Instead of, well, I feel like this, because it doesn't matter, because it's not going to go anywhere unless they are somebody who really wants to listen. As opposed to debate.
It's not politics that gets us jammed up. It's politicians. You know, and I mean, it's okay to discuss politics. That's policy. Like, should we do this or should we do that? Or what do you think about healthcare? Or what do you think about healthcare? But as soon as you start calling in the politicians that propose and endorse these ideas, you get into an argument about personalities, and that gets you right at the bottom rung, Eleanor Roosevelt's bottom rung. Now we're talking about people, which is what dumb people do. Don't be a dumb person. Dumb people talk about people. That's what Eleanor Roosevelt said. Don't talk about people, especially not people that aren't here.
Right. Why are you giving them that airtime?
They don't deserve it, and you don't need it, and there's nobody here that's going to change anything, so why even go down that road? Talk about what a wonderful meal this is. There are other things you could be saying instead that make people feel good. You know, it's, I don't know. So you're listening, a big part of it. I've listened to enough conversations to know when they go wrong. And picking your topic and sticking to your topic and trying to elevate the conversation. Listen to what's going on. And when you hear an argument building up over a politician, elevate the conversation. Pay attention to what you're hearing and try to change the subject. Intervene in some way to keep it from getting really nasty, because it can. And especially around the holidays, a lot of indigestion is caused by that.
Well, and to play on that, as a lot of people are thinking, well, I need to do my New Year's resolutions. I mentioned earlier, a friend that we all know sent me, said, rather than New Year's resolutions, talk about lifestyle changes. And if you look at what lifestyle changes am I going to make in 2022, that leads right down what you're talking about, Al, changing the approach that we use. Talk about ideas rather than people.
Rather than people and just events. And that's, it's work. But, you know, I hadn't really thought about it. I'm glad you added that perspective, Hyatt. I hadn't thought about it as an element of lifestyle. But your conversation, what you bring to the table conversationally, that's you. And that is lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's nothing fluffy about that. That's real.
I have a question. What if we didn't wait until New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, the first week of January to actually look at ourselves and see what's working and what's not? Why can't it be an ongoing process?
Mhm.
What do we celebrate on New Year's Day? What is it? I mean, really, was anybody born that day? Did anything great cataclysmic happen that day? No, it's just a position in the orbit around the sun. That's all. We pick that as day one in the year. Yeah, you're right. Every day is New Year's Day, if you really think about it. Not just that one, but all of them.
Well, I mean, if you want to be totally, Father Time was born on January 1 and then is going to die on December 31st. So, what are you going to do in this 1 year to adjust your lifestyle and make it a little bit better and make other people's a little bit better?
That's a good spin too, Hyatt. You got that envelope to work in. How when you're looking back in 2023 at how you were changed by 2022, what stories are you going to be telling? And that is interesting. When looking back on it, what are you going to perceive as the big alteration in your trajectory in 2022 that happened because you mindfully decided you were going to head that way?
You could start your practice. Everybody says, "What do you want to have on your tombstone?" Well, what do you want to have people saying about you on January 1 next year?
Wow, that's pretty heavy.
Yeah, I'd like to dive into that.
Heavy. I'd rather they were saying it to me than etching it on my tombstone. So that's one thing, but that is heavy. I mean, that's important. What do you really want? What is it you want people to take away? You were here. What were you while you were here? To people, it's a great question.
And if you set your goals high and you achieve them, when you ask that same question on the week before New Year's next year, you can raise your own bar a little higher.
Hey,
I know for me, I am sort of at the other end of the spectrum, which is I'm always analyzing myself and beating myself up because I have very high standards for myself and I'm constantly frustrated because I can't control everything, right? I can't control very much. And so things don't go exactly how I'd like them to go. And then I say to myself, it's going exactly as it should be going. Just listen to your intuition and you'll make the right decisions. It's when and I really believe that's part of listening to that little voice, to that gut feel that we have. When you don't listen, and I have not listened in the past and I made mistakes, but when I listen, it's usually a pleasant experience.
Do you
Al,
cover listening to yourself in your training, Dr. JACALYN? Do you cover that?
Yes, I do. Actually, with a new course we have coming out.
Good, because I think that's a valuable lesson for people to learn, and that is that I think what we do sometimes is we give up way before we should because we feel as though things aren't going exactly right, and so we stop doing what we're doing. But the only way you really absolutely decisively lose is by quitting. That's a decisive loss. You have now lost. If you keep doing it, and you're not getting the results you want. You make adjustments, but keep doing it. Keep doing something, even if it's a little different.
And that goes along the lines of when you all slap me down for talking over you and not listening to you, and I stop talking and start listening, I learn. I get, thank you, Al, for jokingly but very honestly telling me, I was talking over you and I wasn't listening to you. I wanted to be one up, and in the time since then, I have been more mindful and listening, so I will now stop talking.
Well, that's a good point, Hyatt. And another thing about learning is that I think a lot of us like to think that when we tell somebody something, they're supposed to be immediately grateful and get it right away. But often they're offended. That's the beginning of a process that's going to continue after we're talking. You may not get it until next week. You may not, you're not necessarily going to get it when people give it to you. You won't. I mean, but you'll remember it, and those changes are those little adjustments add up to 2022 that's different, really different in a meaningful way.
Really good points. As something else I want to share in terms of listening, I think this is so important, and it ties in with getting your back up as soon as somebody says something, closing off your mind. I'm working on something. I'm always working on the next thing, right? And I met with somebody who is a friend who's also a business coach yesterday. And I said, hey, I'd like you to take a look at what this is. And I could see he took a deep breath, and I thought, oh, here we go. Now, I could have said, I only want to hear good things, or if it's not going to be good, I don't want to listen. But instead, I just was open because the person was taking the time. So I wasn't labeling it or judging whatever he was going to tell me, because he's knowledgeable and I want to learn. But too many times we get our back up because somebody sees something from a different perspective. As it turns out, he spent over an hour with me. And by the time we were finished, we put something together that is really dynamite. Now, had I not listened, had I just decided that I knew what's right, I know what's better, I wouldn't have had this amazing experience. And not only that, this connection with this person I have so much respect for.
It's important to, that's an important lesson.
And it's so important to when people offer that opportunity to you, to avail yourself of it and be thankful for it. I've got a couple of advisors, yourselves included, that you said bring whatever you have to me, and I'll look at it, and both of you have done that, and it has been extremely valuable. When people offer themselves, take them at their offer, and avail yourself of them, because you're likely to get something that others are willing to pay hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of dollars for, and consider themselves lucky, rather than, oh, that's just Jacqueline's opinion. What the hey, she'll give it to me. It is humbling, and at the same time educational.
Yeah.
to take them at their offer and avail yourself of them. The worst they could say is, I'm not going to do it for you, or I'm not going to, but 99 times out of 100, the people on your level and the millionaires and the true gurus, if you come to me for an answer, I will give you my input.
That is true. What, men don't like to ask directions, right? I mean, we'll keep driving around in circles, and I know it's got to be around here somewhere. Sooner or later, I know I'm going to, that whole idea that the other people in your life are there for a reason, and it's a gift that you give them when you give them the opportunity to be of help to you. Don't deny the gift. That's what they want, and that is that's a lesson right there.
I have told a number of young people that I would love to be their mentor, and come to me, and there's a young businessman that I really thought was going to avail himself of it, but he hasn't done it. So I'm not going to go chasing after him, but I am sad and antsy, because I want to share what I know with people that want to know it.
Hyatt, thank you for sharing that. What if I said to you that maybe you're not meant to help this particular person because someone else is going to come into your life, and that's the path you're supposed to go down?
It's a possibility.
Thank you.
It's a possibility.
Yeah.
But I can say to that particular person that you're not helping, you can either get there next year or you can get there 20 years from now. Connecting with a mentor that'll help you get there sooner is never a stupid thing to do. It's always a smart thing to do. If I can avoid 19 years of things that won't work because you've done them and know they won't work, I just listen, for crying out loud. Give people the opportunity to help you, and then pay attention to them when they do.
Yep.
And Al, I just want to build on that a little bit, because we're talking about listening and also business. One place that business owners, I found, because I was one of them, definitely get tripped up is when you speak with someone who is a mentor or a coach or an esteemed colleague, someone you respect, and they look at your website and they say, this website doesn't give a clear message. I'm not actually sure what it is you do. If I were a customer coming here, I don't know exactly what you're offering, because you're offering everything under the sun, and I don't think I want to buy anything. And what we do as business owners, it's like, no, it's my website, my picture's on there, and I like the purple color because
then I feel like I need to go change my website. Do me a favor, next time you get a chance, look at the Scientology website. It's a nightmare. It's a friggin' nightmare. I mean, it's everything you'd expect knowing what you know about Scientology. It's a total nightmare. Complete nightmare. Terrible website. It's a huge organization that makes billions of dollars.
Yep.
If you have something that's of value to people, communicate it to them. It's not like buying bubble gum. Dr. JACALYN isn't a product that you pick up in the impulse aisle on your way out of a supermarket. That's not who you are. And most websites, I think most of that website advice is really bullshit advice, because we're telling people that they need to nail down their message and make it really clear. You're not going to buy anyway. What makes you a mystery shopper? You're not a customer. I need to hear that from somebody that's thinking about buying from me, not from somebody who just happens to be somebody I went to high school with. You're not an expert in this. The market will tell you what you need to do, not some bullshit expert. They're not your market. Let the market tell you what you need to do.
I think that's called listening to your audience, right?
Yeah,
like it's
or
targeted.
who they are. Ask them. The people you know don't know what a good website is. They'll just say, I looked at your website. It doesn't make any sense to me. No, you didn't look at my website. Maybe you did. It doesn't matter. You don't matter. Why am I even talking to you? So what you then end up doing is what you're comfortable doing, which is going back and changing your website. Instead of doing what you should be doing. Honestly.
So true.
Seriously.
Yes, hi.
Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how did you enjoy the play?
I get very worked up over things like this. The Lord God, Jesus Christ, at the Sermon on the Mount, was giving the Sermon on the Mount wearing a beautiful robe that had a mustard stain on it. Right? Find me anywhere in any of those books that talk about the mustard stain on his robe. But there were 30 people in the back saying, I'm not going to listen to this guy. Look at him. He's got a mustard stain on his robe. If he'd have paid attention to them instead of doing what he was supposed to do, he would have had a clean toga and gone nowhere.
I love that, because we can tie that into listening and then distractions. And again, it goes to listening to your intuition, or you're going to listen to what everybody else has to say.
I love your website. I think it's really great. Don't believe that either. Don't believe these things that people say. The marketplace will tell you what you need to know. Listen to that.
Right. Who's doing business with you? Who are you able to convert to actually be your client?
Mm-hmm. Well, to play off of your guy with the mustard stain, there was a gentleman called Lord Baden-Powell. He started the Boy Scouts. And to me, he put the 10 Commandments in the positive. The Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, brave, clean, and reverent. All positive statements. You can work in every single one of the 10 Commandments into that.
That's the truth.
He put the 10 Commandments in the positive, and the Boy Scouts are the results.
Were you a Boy Scout, Hyatt?
Yes, ma'am.
I was a Girl Scout. Were you a Boy Scout, Al?
Yeah, I was. I never got past second class because I couldn't swim.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. It was.
Really... I love the sash with all those badges. I just wanted more and more badges.
I never got that far.
I had the great honor of I went to a British boarding school, and we had a scout troop, and I was the only American scout in this school, so I wore my American scout uniform in the British scout troop.
Very neat. That's whatever. Did they tease you because of that? Did they? Did that help?
No, fortunately, no. I got looked up to because I was the only boy in the school that had that uniform.
Oh well.
I'm sure there were some envious, but there were others. Gee, I wish I could have that on.
Yeah, that's cool.
Hi, were you an Eagle Scout as well?
No, my father was career military, and we moved around so much that I never got above first class. I think I hold great respect for Eagle Scouts, and there's Eagle Scouts are young Congressional Medal of Honor
really?
winners or holders. They are Congressional Medal of Honor people in training.
Yeah, all three of my nephews are Eagle Scouts. That's
No
kind of
kidding.
cool.
It's no small
Yeah.
achievement. It is a
No,
big deal.
Oh,
A very big deal.
definitely.
It's not a finishing school kind of it's not a lift your pinky teacup kind of a recognition. It's you got to earn those things.
It's hardcore. Yes,
It's a lot of work.
definitely. Definitely. All right, as we close out this show, let's go back to listening to your intuition. You're at the dinner table, someone's talking about vaccinations, pro or con. You've heard it a million times. You don't want to get engaged with the conversation. They're asking, are you vaccinated? How do you feel about it? What can you do to elevate the conversation so that you don't go down that path? It's like someone's taking out a fishing rod and they're throwing it with the bait just to reel you in. Yeah, it's a trap.
You start to sweat. You know that if I were answering that question honestly, well, first of all, I'm vaccinated and I got a booster, and the booster didn't screw me up at all. And I mean, I understand the science behind all that, and I'm going to do that. I don't know whether it's having the effect everybody says. I'm not sure about. Just like everybody else, I'm not sure about this stuff. But I would say I'm vaccinated and I'm boosted, and that's a choice I made. And my preference is that everybody be allowed to make that choice, and that government focus more on informing and educating people and less on trying to punish people who don't conform, because I think that's a failure of leadership. It's my personal opinion. So
that's great. You just elevated it.
Yeah, I think I'd rather talk about that. I mean, the reason why I don't like mandates is because people, if they're informed and they're educated, you'll get the kind of the turnout you want. But it'll be their idea, not yours, and everybody's always happier about that.
Excellent.
Changing the conversation away from vaccines, more to but hey, if you choose not to get a vaccine, that's fine. I got one. I feel safe here.
Well, and keeping it on that level, I literally got my booster today. My wife and I went and got our boosts. But I would say, one can only hope that as we go forward, the science will show the way to overcome the effects of the virus and protect us against the occurrence of something similar going forward.
I hope we learned a lesson from this whole 2-year ordeal. That's a great point, Hyatt. I just hope we learned the next time, and there will be a next time. The next time something like this happens, I hope it doesn't catch us as flat-footed as this one did.
Yeah.
A question I have for both of you. I'm really glad that you shared that. So I've had both of my shots, and I'm scheduled on Sunday to get the booster, and I wasn't going to get it because I've heard so many people who are sick, but you both got it and you're fine.
Fine. No effect. Not for me. Well, there he goes.
That explains why Hyatt's acting so crazy. No, I'm kidding.
Little bit of pain for a day or two at the injection site. Nothing
That was
dramatic.
it. Okay. All right. There we go. You just gave me the confidence I need.
Yeah, cool.
Wonderful. All right. So let's close out the show with any year-end tips on how to be an elevated listener. What do you want to share with our audience? 1 or 2 tips that you've learned that you didn't share yet for people to take away.
I can offer one I'd like to offer is learn how to count in your head. Don't feel like in other words, when it sounds like the person you're listening to has finished talking, they probably haven't yet. Give them a little bit more time. Don't just jump in. That's kind of number one. And believe me, that's a lot of work for me. And I guess my second piece of advice is the one that we touched on a couple of times, and that is listen to yourself. You'll know most of the time what it is that you need to do. And I think we spend an awful lot of time distracting ourselves away from really listening to ourselves when we're telling ourselves what needs to be done. And that's why I'm looking forward to the next step in your training, Dr. Jacalyn, because it sounds like that could be really helpful.
Thank you, Al. I actually have a new program that I just launched yesterday, which I'll talk about in a minute. But hi, what about you? 1 or 2 tips you want to share with our audience, takeaways for the end of the year?
Get rid of old baggage. I happened to have misplaced something, and I opened a bunch of cabinets and found piles of paper that are there. And my thought is go into them. No, I'm just going to get a great big box and empty all of these cabinets of all of this stuff and put them and leave only what I'm working on right now and stay focused. And then look at the things that my lifestyle, the changes that I need to make in myself going forward to be a better person, a more effective person, a more real person in 2022.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, both of you. That was really tremendous.
And how about yourself?
I am going to stop beating myself up. I'm going to be listening to my intuition and giving myself a break. So, and I'm also going to focus on what I have on my plate so far, because I think I told you in the corporate world, when I would get my reviews, I would be told that I'm an inch deep and a mile wide. And I never really understood what that meant. But I have this tenacity to just run Buffalo, as one of my friends would say, that I just want to take on the next challenge and the next challenge and the next challenge. And I need to just stay where I am and go deeper, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It does make sense.
Yep. Absolutely.
Good.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to spotlight you each again. And I know all your contact information. That's why I laugh. I hear it when I'm lying in bed. Like, hi, Ives, Al.CINI. Okay, here we go. We're going to go with Al. Go ahead. Please tell us how to
wish
contact
my colleagues, HIETT, Dr. JACALYN, the happiest and healthiest 2022 you can imagine. And for everybody out there watching and listening, same to all of you. I can be reached at al.cini, al.cini, at getbcat.com. Happy to talk to anybody about anything and happy to listen. So reach out and let's see what we can do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Al. And Mr. Hyatt Ives.
Hyatt at HyattIves.com. You can see that there. Hyatt is spelled H-I-E-T-T. Sounds like the hotel, but spelled differently. And again, y'all have a very prosperous, safe, and blessed new year. And reach out when you have communications and event needs and opportunities. Hyatt at HyattIves.com, 832-372-6900, or link to Hyatt Ives at LinkedIn. Happy New Year.
Thank you very much.
Happy New Year.
Thank you, Hyatt. I'm just going to let everybody know what it is that I am offering, and a lot of things are taking place, but USA Global TV, we have our official launch on January the 10th. We have new programming that will be airing that week, and we've got some existing programming that's coming back with some people I love who are also coming back. So stay tuned for announcements about that. We also have launched a new listening mentor opportunity, which is called Your Inner Circle for Inner Peace. And you can find out more about that on the Listening Mentor website, on my website, on Eventbrite. And we also have the Power of Listening foundational courses. Our next opportunity for you to become an elevated listener is January 5th. Go over to eventbrite.com and put in the Power of Listening. Lastly, I will share with you, we have our 2021 reunion show coming up, which both of these gentlemen will be there. So if you'd like to come on, it's January 1st. It's 5 hours live streaming. There are no interviews. It is strictly so you can drop in and say hello and promote whatever it is that you have to promote. We want to hear from it. We want customized offers. You can go over to Eventbrite and just put in USA Global TV Reunion Show. Everything is on Eventbrite. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. I'll be back tomorrow, and Al, you'll be back Saturday, and so will Hyatt.
Yeah.
All right, come and see us for the reunion show. We'll be here Saturday, 12 to 5 Eastern time. Bye, everyone.
We all going to come back next week on Wednesday?
I don't know about Listening Mentor on Wednesday. I don't know if I can. We'll talk about that, though. Maybe. I think I'm definitely doing the business talk show next Wednesday.
Yes, definitely.
So we'll see. I don't know what we need to talk about the Listening Mentor. I think the program you have is so valuable. Everybody in the world really needs to know about it. I want to do whatever I can to help make sure that everybody knows that they need to follow this program and gain benefit from it.
Well,
So
thank you.
let's figure that out, because I'm happy to help.
Yes, and the listening mentor is going to be Monday through Friday. And we have, as I mentioned, for the workshop coming up, we've got a lot of people who are enrolled. So when they pass the test, they'll also be on the program, which is great. So, all
Great.
right. Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Happy New Year. See you again. Bye.